Welcome back to library. I have our first read aloud of the year right here in my hands. It's called The Secret Life of Library Books. Did you know they have a secret life? Here we go. Mrs. Davis always looked forward to seeing her library books after the long summer break. She considered them her friends and treated them with as much love and respect as she did the students. To her surprise, there was a stack of letters on her desk, though she didn't think anyone had been in the library all summer. Do you see the pile of letters? But people don't go in the library when it's summertime. Curious, she opened one. To Ms. Davis. Dear Mrs. Davis, hello. How was your summer? I had a nice long nap and I'm ready to be checked out. It was such a joy to be held and read by a child. I'm writing to let you know that last year, on more than one occasion, I got crumbs stuck between my pages. I am itching like crazy. Kids need to know that food, drinks, and books don't mix. Last year, a book was ruined from spilled apple juice and was withdrawn. We say discarded. I don't want that to happen to me. Thanks. Big Bear, Little Bear. P.S. I also have a tear on page 12. Ouch. Another letter read, Dear Mrs. Davis, last spring, 2 days before school was out, Jack and his friends decided to play football with me. Flying through the air was terrifying. My spine got broken when he spiked me for a touchdown. Ow! Just when I didn't think it could get any worse, he left me on the ground and I got mud on my back cover. Then I sat on the shelf all summer. Filthy. Birds are meant to fly, not books. Can you fix me? I'd like to be in good condition for the next kid who wants to read me. Hopefully not a football player. Sincerely, Escape from Mr. Limoncello's library. Look what happened to him, poor guy. Library rules. Quiet voices in the library. No running. Keep books away from pets. Return your books on time. 5. No food or drinks near books. 6. Books cannot be used as footballs, baseballs, or soccer balls. Mrs. Davis was shocked. She didn't want her friends to suffer. She decided to add to her rules poster about already hanging on the wall. She also decided to create a book hospital, a place where books could go that needed repair or extra care. Then she put a damaged book on display where students could see why it could no longer be checked out. What's wrong with that one? Yep, it's got a ripped cover. Usually we can fix ripped covers. Usually we can fix ripped pages, but not always, so be careful. Then she opened another letter. Dear Mrs. Davis, I am so nervous. Do you remember last year, Julia checked me out, brought me home, and somehow I ended up under her bed for the rest of the school year? Months and months I sat there, next to her dirty sock and some gum wrappers, collecting dust. I have never been so lonely in my life. I missed out on being read. If it hadn't been for her mother finding me, I would probably still be under her bed. I was hoping you might share my story to the kids in hopes that no other book will be lost like me. Glad to be back on the shelf. Junie B. Jones and some sneaky peeky spying. So somebody lost a Junie B. Jones book for like the whole year and didn't get it back on the shelf so other kids could read it. They found it in the end, so that's good. Over the years, her students had lost and eventually found their books. Some of the places where they found were rather interesting. She decided to create a brand new lesson plan to discuss places students might not think to look for a lost book. Here's some of the places where they found lost books. In the car, in the couch cushions, under the bed, and in a basket in the bathroom. All good places to look. Some of them are a little weird, but that's all right. The next letter read, "Dear Mrs. Davis, do you remember me? I hope you do, because it seems no one else does. I haven't been checked out in over a year. I try to look as interesting as possible, but I'm overlooked every time. Sophia was the last kid to read me, and we had a great time together. I'm getting stiff sitting here day after day. How can I make myself more noticeable to the kids? Your lonesome friend, the Penderwicks." I think we have that book. Mrs. Davis went to the stacks, that means the library shelves, and pulled off books she knew rarely got any attention but were still terrific stories. She displayed them on a table so students would notice them as soon as they entered the library. Welcome back. Remembering old friends. There were still a few letters left to open. Excuse me. The Most Honorable Mrs. Davis. I am one of the most senior classics in this library. At one point, I was checked out and read constantly. That means all the time. Lately, I haven't been getting the attention that I used to. This bothers me because I know I'm a great story. I know my cover is a little worn, but I'm a classic. Doesn't that mean anything anymore? It seems that all the newer books in the library get all the consideration. This just makes me melancholy. What do you think melancholy means? Kind of like sad. Your kindred spirit, Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables, great story. I don't think anybody's checked it out in a while. This letter motivated Mrs. Davis to try an idea she'd wanted to do for a long time. She immediately sent out an email to the teachers at school. To the teachers, from Mrs. Davis, regarding classic children's books. Please email me the title of your favorite classic children's novel. Just means chapter book. I want to incorporate everyone's recommendation into a new bulletin board display in the library. Thanks. Ooh, let's see what the bulletin board looks like. The first week of school, the students were greeted with a new bulletin board. Check out your teacher's favorite childhood books. Robin Hood, Mr. Hunt. Mrs. Banks, The Secret Garden. Black Beauty from Mrs. Hobby. The Swiss Family Robinson, Mrs. Reed. The Boxcar Children, Mrs. Lazo. Anne of Green Gables, Mrs. Mosier. Boxcar Children, that's one of my favorites, and I know some of our third grade teachers really like it too. Another letter began, Dear Mrs. Davis, I hate to bother you, but why do the kids like to put me on the shelf backwards? It drives me crazy. Quite often they put me back upside down, backwards, or not even on the right shelf. No one can find me if I'm not on the shelf properly. Am I right? Your friend, Magic Treehouse, Soccer on Sundays, number 52. Mrs. Davis had noticed books misshelved, and to be honest, it drove her a little crazy too. So during the very first week of school, she filled her library book cart and demonstrated how to use shelf markers properly to reshelve a book. We have practiced that with lots of you, so don't forget, even though we won't be doing it right away. Dear Mrs. Davis, roses are red, violets are black. Kids don't check out poetry books. Did you know that? We never get checked out, Mrs. Davis. I don't think it's because kids don't like to read poetry. I think it's because they don't know where to find us. We're all the way over in the 800 section of nonfiction. No one ever looks over here. The children never come our way. How can we get their attention? Sincerely, where the sidewalk ends. Mrs. Davis agreed that students would read and enjoy poetry more often if they knew where to find the books. So she used her very last bulletin board to create one more display. In the nonfiction section, Judith Viorst, James Stevenson, Shel Silverstein, Jack Prelutsky, Ann Turner. Poetry, J. Patrick Lewis. During the first week of school, the library was busier than ever. Mrs. Davis shared the letters she found on her desk with every class that week. The kids really seemed to like all the new displays and were anxious to check out books. She had a feeling the students would feel differently about how they used the library for the rest of the year. Both the students and the books were much happier now. As Mrs. Davis left for home that day, she wondered if the next morning she might find a thank you note or two on her desk. And this part is just about the author and about the illustrator, and I'm not going to read that part to you right now. All right, there is your first book, all about books in the library and how to keep them safe and treat them nicely. If you have any books that you want to find, like poetry books, and you don't know where to look, just ask. I'll help you find some that will be really great and fun and interesting. Bye for now.